Welcome to the Gruber Morning Show. This is the special AI podcast that we do every week, and we want to welcome Instagram, who is now able to see our images. And if you're seeing them, you're probably seeing a big set of red lips behind me. And what we're going to talk about today is new voice cloning in AI that lets you speak multiple languages, and that's the reason for the image behind us. Again, if you have any questions, inputs, this is a collaborative podcast. We don't have the expertise in virtually everything, so we're looking for the audience to help fill in the gaps at times. Our social media people oftentimes chime in, and we're having fun with this podcast. What we're doing is dispelling all the myths regarding AI and all the speculations about what may happen, and trying to learn to embrace this technology that is coming, whether we choose to let it or not. So getting back to the voice cloning, apparently there is a new AI function now that only needs to hear 4 seconds of your voice to be able to replicate your voice in totality. In January, it turns out Microsoft unveiled an AI that can clone a speaker's voice after hearing it talk for just 4 seconds. It's called Val-E, V-A-L-L-E, and it was far from the first voice cloning AI. Its accuracy and need for such a small audio sample, though, set a new bar for tech. Microsoft, they say, has now raised that bar again with Val-EX, which can clone a voice from a short sample again, and then use it to synthesize speech in a different language, all while preserving the original speaker's voice, emotion, and tone. If you remember in one of the earlier AI podcasts, we talked about an AI capability that allows you to speak with someone on the other end of the world that is speaking a different language, and AI would instantly translate between the two of you so you were talking the same language. It was in a virtual interpreter, basically. Well, apparently these capabilities are continuing to evolve, and they say in this article, we could soon be living in a world where anyone can generate audio that sounds like anyone saying anything in any language. Now, Microsoft has not released this more complex version, Val-EX, to the public yet, but it has published a demo page featuring translations between English and Chinese, along with a reprint paper in which it reveals plans to expand the AI to include other languages. Now, if and when Microsoft decides to make this tool available, similar tools are being rolled out by a myriad of other AI firms. We could soon be living in a world where anyone can generate audio that sounds like anyone else in any other language. And that could have, as they say, massive consequences. They do talk about dozens of voice cloning AIs are already available online. And like Val-E, they're trained on a large data set of speech. So given a sample of a new voice, they can then use their training to predict what it would sound like reading text prompts or generating audio. Some can even do what Val-EX does and produce audio in languages other than the one originally spoken. All of these services require a sample, and a person might need to recite a few dozen sentences or even provide hours of audio, and the quality of the output can vary, they say, but having voice clone can be hugely useful, especially for content creators. In January, they say, the internet users took advantage of a startup called 11 Labs, which is a free voice cloning app, which needs just 1 minute of audio to create a clone, to generate clips of Emma Watson, Joe Rogan, and other celebs, in this case saying hateful things that they never really said. So we've got the bad actors coming into play here potentially. Then they say pair a voice clone with deepfake visuals, and you have content that looks and sounds real, but is anything but. making it easier, of course, for the bad actors to not only tarnish a celeb's reputation, but also create convincing propaganda and spread misinformation. And these are the huge concerns. We actually use 11 Labs here. One of our latest videos was done with 11 Labs, and they asked me to just simply record some voice or took some of our video samples. And then one day, Jesse, this week, called me over to his desk. He said, put on these headphones and listen to this. And what I heard was myself talking with the same intonation, inflection, the stutters and the ahs and the ums, which, by the way, can be removed with AI as well. We'll talk about that later. There's an application that will do that for us as well. And it was just mind-blowing. So this latest video that we did is on the electrical grid and some of the concerns about whether it's going to be able to keep up with electric vehicle proliferation. And because with an 11 Labs type narrative, you're not having the individual actually give the speech. So it's all B-roll typically, because it'd be very difficult for me to lip sync to my own voice on an 11 Labs type narrative. So when you watch the video, what we decided to do was, rather than try to cram a whole bunch of B-roll into it applicable to the electrical grid, we decided to just use a Mandelbrot fractal type looping image, which puts the eyes basically to rest, hoping that people focus in on the narrative. All right. By the way, if you have any questions, comments, you're joining us, we always like to see where you're coming from and what part of the world. It's also fascinating for our visitors. All right, so here's one that is an interesting news item. There are illegal drug labs, of course, all over the world. And this headline drew some attention. It said, "Drugs made in space cooked real good," says startup. And the startup they're talking about is Varda, V-A-R-D-A. It says that it has a space factory and it performed flawlessly. It took 7 months longer than expected to get it home after it went to space to make some drugs. But Varda Space Industries has finally retrieved the medication that it manufactured in space. And according to the company's analysis, the mission was a major success. Well, the premise here is that certain types of drugs do not process well in a state of gravity. So if you manufacture them with an absence of gravity, or what they call microgravity, then you get different results. Well, that's what they ended up doing. And
wonder what a mushroom would look like if you grow it in no gravity.
Now, that's true. Plants are, conditioned to grow in gravity. Oh, looks like Aaron's going to chime in here.
So do we currently have a meth lab just orbiting space right now, like around the Earth?
That's what it sounds like.
You know, if it was cost effective, I'm sure that that would be a viable thing to do, or for the criminals to do, because you would escape prosecution. I mean, how many cops are going to go into outer space to crack down on a meth lab when there's no one inside anyway, right? Getting it back, though, getting it out there and back would exceed anything that makes it cost effective, in my estimation.
It just feels like that someone like a meth head would probably only think, hey, can I put a meth lab in space and make drugs?
Yeah.
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 Okay. All right. We're going down a rabbit hole on that one. So space drugs, they say. June 2023, a SpaceX rocket deployed the first of its kind spacecraft designed to autonomously synthesize a drug. Well, no surprise that Elon was involved in that. SpaceX launched this thing. And what they were synthesizing in outer space was an HIV-AIDS medication called ritonavir while in Earth's orbit. And they built this craft to demonstrate how space factories could autonomously produce products that are easier to manufacture in an absence of gravity, starting with certain pharmaceuticals that eventually will expand to fiber optic cables and semiconductors and more. So it looks like there's much broader applications, although working on drugs that help humanity is definitely an important one.
That's where they should have developed COVID, right? The whatever virus escaped China, or whatever the actual story is. We don't know if that's actually what happened, lab leak, whatever, but deadly viruses, that's a good place to test them.
It would be, because it's completely contained. And then, of course, if it does change, you simply blow the thing up in outer space.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. So they do say this is our first step in the commercializing microgravity drug development, according to Varda Space Industries. So they say that Varda has now had time to study its space drugs and has shared a detailed report with the reprint server Chemarvix. All right. The short story, though, is that the ritonavir that was successfully synthesized remains stable throughout the reentry process. All right. So they're pretty jazzed about the fact that they're going to be able to make drugs in outer space and get potentially new types of drugs. All right. Moving along here to the next topic. A French startup, and I got a picture that goes with this. It's called Meropy Robot. I'll pop that up here in a second, and our Instagram group can see this for once. We used to be able to just have to describe with Instagram. So this French startup, Meropy, has developed an agricultural robot that autonomously inspects crops from both above and below, saving farmers time and money. We love to report on these new robot applications because this is new and exciting stuff. So the challenge was, a lot can go wrong between the time crops are planted and when they're harvested. Pests can invade a field. Diseases can spread through it. Weeds can proliferate, stealing resources that the crops need to thrive. Well, regular crop monitoring can help farmers catch these problems early before they lead to significant losses. But manually checking all the plants on large farms is time-consuming, labor-intensive, and very costly. Robots now that autonomously navigate fields can relieve farmers of this duty, but their tires and treads can damage the crops. So, satellites and drones don't carry this risk, but because they only see plants from above, they miss the hidden issues beneath their leaves. And I know this well. I have a plumeria plant in my study that sits behind me, my computer. Plumeria is a plant that grows in tropical climates and very prolific in Hawaii, for example. We have one in the house. And on the bottom of every leaf, it developed a fungus or some sort of a collection of brown spots. And if I was looking only at the top, I wouldn't be able to see that. They say that at just 33 pounds, this bot that you see a picture of here, rather than rolling along on tires, it navigates fields on rimless, spoked wheels. Because these make much less contact with the ground than the wheels traditionally used by farming robots, or tractors if you think about it, damage to the crops is minimized. Now, to use this SentiV is what it's called, SENTIV, for those of you who want to Google this, farmers first set the boundaries of their fields in a robot software platform. Tell it, what the range is. It will then use GPS to roll across the entire area autonomously, and the bot can cover 50 acres a day. That's pretty substantial. While on the move, this SentiV uses 2 cameras to image crops from above and below. Data from the cameras is analyzed by AI algorithms trained to spot threats, monitor growth, and identify signs that the plant might need more or less water, nutrients. To ensure farmers can inspect different types of crops, turns out Meropy designed the agricultural robot to be modular, which is width adjustable, height adjustable, and can be changed by swapping in different size wheels, so different crops, I would assume.
So, couldn't we do this with drone? Wouldn't that be more effective?
They were saying that drones only see from above.
I
like my
see.
plumeria plant. If I was looking only from the top, I would never see the fungus growing on the underside of the leaves.
Even with like infrared or something that would be able to detect living.
Organisms, I suppose, through the leaves, maybe, or yeah.
I think we should be able to get to a point where we just do a scan over a field and know everything about it,
Yeah.
as opposed to having mechanical things still. It just seems still kind of archaic to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a good idea. And I think this is a good transitional step.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating how agriculture changes with
Yeah.
the introduction of these kinds of technologies.
Because they have the scanning thing too that we talked about recently, where it's like on the back of a tractor they have like a laser leveler blade
Mhm.
kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Well, it looks kind of like that. It's like a long blade on the back of this tractor, and it's scanning the field as it's going over, and it's like zapping the weeds
Mm-hmm.
and killing all of the weeds, so you don't have to actually use like a Roundup or something.
Yeah, some harsh chemical that decades later they find caused cancer.
Yeah.
And you have endless lawsuits that are still being processed.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's a bad one too.
It is.
Cause all kind of cancers and whatever else. Yeah, it's horrible.
And, agriculture has come such a long way if you think about it. Belgium, for example, I think is the #1 exporter of certain certain vegetables. And
Belgium?
and the reason is they have created large hydroponic type farms with massive buildings with artificial light, and they're able to maximize, the growth rates.
So that's
of
all
these-
indoor stuff?
all indoors,
Yeah.
yes. And of course, in their world, it's not a favorable climate necessarily. They get a lot of rain, granted, but there's an absence of sunshine, and of course, they have 4 seasons. So this is quite remarkable. But the thing that I'm fascinated about with this technology is we know we're on the cusp of biofeedback type connections to the human body.
Yeah.
How's that any different for plants? It seems like it's a much less complex, organism. And with biofeedback and AI, you would be able to tell exactly what that plant needs. Is it overwatered, underwatered? What nutrients is it missing? What are the temperature ranges doing to the plant?
See, there is, I think, still some mystery to plants, even though it is simpler for sure. But
Yeah.
if we could perfectly understand photosynthesis and the use of radiation from the sun the way that plants do, I think our whole society could run off of
Yeah.
solar.
And then, of course, the whole food harvesting notion is pretty archaic if you think about it. We're still killing animals for proteins and meats. Growing vegetables, growing fruits takes an enormous amount of infrastructure.
Well, that's coming too in labs. So it'd be
Yeah.
like the equivalent of hydroponic meat.
Well, exactly. Instead of having plants create the fruits and vegetables that we favor, we actually modify the genetics of certain types of compounds and create these things that replicate the taste and probably even improve it. There were TV shows in the last century where people used to be fed from tubes, for example, like toothpaste tubes.
Well, what if you could just wake up in the morning and take a pill, and that slowly dissolves throughout the day and just gives you all the nutrients you need all throughout the day?
Well, you're going even a step further. Do we really need to ingest any kind
That's
of
a good point.
Yeah, compounds or material in order to keep the human body operating at peak efficiency? Eventually, they may sew our mouths shut. We don't need it anymore. The orifices are necessary, right?
Yeah.
I was actually listening to the Joe Rogan show, some
Yeah.
old episodes, and they had a lady on there that said that the foods that we eat will actually, when we're younger, actually will help us shape our mouths and our teeth. I
Really?
guess there's some studies going on that the younger you are, eating more whole foods, biting down, it shapes your gums and your teeth to where you potentially might not need to have braces, or if you do, like a minimal.
Yeah.
So they said certain foods will actually help you, like with facial features and stuff.
as we go down these rabbit holes, the absurdity of it all oftentimes hits me. I mean, chewing, masticating, and as you age, your teeth fall out, and then you have, issues, and then swallowing, and all of the digestive issues that, go along with that, or the introductions of pathogens. You've eaten something that is spoiled, you've eaten something that has bacteria, you've eaten something that has a disease, that is carrying a disease. All of that would seem unnecessary if we just simply start to learn how to give the body what it needs without all of these evolutionary processes continuing. Anyway.
The difficult part there, though, is because I have acid reflux sometimes. I have some digestive stuff. I didn't really grasp that that's a whole, I want to say ecosystem, but there's like living creatures in there, and you have to...
that you have to service.
Yeah. I mean, they decide kind of what's going on down there.
Yeah, totally. So it looks like we've got some comments coming in now. Excellent. Instagram, Guven Mengu says, "Hi, this is Guven from Turkey. Hey, thank you. That's a long ways away. I just want to add something about AI and language. There are even jingle-making applications. You just write the lyrics, choose the style of music, and let it run." Is this where we start talking about Sono?
Yeah, Sono is definitely... Well, Sono doesn't... I mean, I'm sure you could use it for that, but I think this person's talking about like a pre-made thing that does the whole jingle in one for you. If you could let us know the name of that.
Yeah, definitely would like to get more information about that. What we've been using, though, what Jesse's using actually, he came in the other morning and he said, you know what? I made myself a playlist using Sono. Sono is a prompt-based music generator. And you basically give it the style, the genre, type of instruments, the type of music you're looking for. You can even put in the lyrics, and it will create music and songs. And we were amazed at some of the results that it was generating. In fact, he likes it so much now, he listens to the Sono-generated stuff he did on the way into work in the morning.
Yeah, it sounds good in the car. Yeah. It sounds really good.
It's scary good. I mean, when I listened to your voice, like it almost got better as it continued to play.
Right.
Like, your manner, like your little...
the Pete voice clone one?
Yeah, those were good.
I'm feeling so unnecessary as you guys are saying stuff like this.
It's coming, though.
It is coming, and you know what? The whole goal of this podcast is you got to embrace it. You got to roll with the punches. You just, you fight this, and it's pointless. So enjoy it, utilize it, find ways to capitalize on it. It's going to be here whether we fight it or not. A Fentorier says, "Why the sunglasses?" All right, well, that's not the first time we've been asked that question, by the way. And at this point, it's a well-kept secret. Although there is a very humorous reason for this. And in the meantime, we ask people to just consider that nobody asked Karl Lagerfeld why he's wearing sunglasses, or the Blues Brothers, or certain rock stars, It's just part of the program that we do.
Well,
All right, Jesse's got sunglasses now. Here we go. Look at that.
It's just my eyes. It's just the way they are.
All right. And usually there's a commercial that they go into. I don't know how to do it because we have sunglass cases, but in the other podcasts, we also use that opportunity when a sunglass question comes along to push these sunglass holders that we have here on the table that Mark's family actually makes. All right. So
hold on, Pete. We got the response here from that person.
How about writing the lyrics and try for the Gruber Motor Company? Shall I try one? Why not?
Yeah,
actually, we did that. And, initially I thought, oh, this is pretty hokey. But then I thought, no, this is good. It went in a chorus and, it repeated a bit. And the instrumentation was rock solid. Again, what I immediately thought, there's a job that just got replaced. I mean, for those companies that do commercials, on-the-air commercials, they always have a jingle, The lawyers love doing that, 7899123, and then you memorize their phone number because it's burned into your consciousness because they repeat that commercial at least 50 times a day.
877 cash now. Yeah, that's the one that gets me.
So it's remarkable. These are beta versions. This is what's so scary. These are not highly developed, highly evolved. AI programs. These were like just announced a week or two ago.
These are the beginning. Yeah.
And here they are blowing us away before they're even refined.
Well, I saw a clip yesterday from Sam Altman.
Yeah.
He was talking on a podcast where people were asking, about how much of a leap it's going to be to go to GPT-4 to GPT-5. And he basically said, if you're building something on GPT-4 now, expecting it to keep up with GPT-5, we're going to steamroll you.
Really?
Is what he said, yeah. So basically he said, leave the AI up to us.
Yep. There you go. All right, so here's another one, and we're still waiting for Guven Mengu, who's creating a jingle for us for Gruber Motor Company, and we'll see if it's anything like what you guys created. Here's a headline. When an antibiotic fails,
Be right back.
MIT scientists are using AI to target sleeper bacteria. Well, they say when dormant bacteria escape the detection of traditional antibiotics, they can come back to life. Since the 1970s, and this was an interesting statistic I was unaware of, since 1970s, modern antibiotic discovery has been experiencing a lull. Now that the World Health Organization has declared the antimicrobial resistance crisis as one of the top 10 global public health threats. What they're talking about there is we're developing an immunity to antibiotics, which gets pretty dangerous because if they don't work anymore, then how do we fight the disease that it was created for? When an infection is treated repeatedly, clinicians run the risk of bacteria becoming resistant to antibiotics. But why would an infection return after proper antibiotic treatment? Well, one well-documented possibility is that the bacteria are becoming metabolically inert, escaping detection of traditional antibiotics that only respond to metabolic activity. When the danger is past, the bacteria then comes back to life and the infection reappears. So you're not getting rid of that rash or that infection. They say that resistance is happening more over time, and recurring infections are due to this dormancy. And this is according to Jackie Valeri. Long history of work here. She's a former MIT Takeda Fellow. And she's also the author of a new paper that was published this month in a print issue of Cell Chemical Biology, where they demonstrate how machine learning could help screen compounds that are lethal to dormant bacteria. The tales of the bacterial sleeper-like resilience are hardly news to the scientific community, though. Ancient bacterial strains dating back to 100 million years ago have been discovered in recent years alive in an energy-saving state on the seafloor of the Pacific Ocean. We talk about a wealth of research data that's available, 100 million year old bacteria. James Collins, who is also at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, recently made headlines for using AI to discover a new class of antibiotics, which is part of the group's larger mission, which is using AI to dramatically expand the existing antibiotics that are available. One of the most exciting frontiers with AI merging and integrating is the massive changes that can occur and improvements in healthcare. And of course, it's badly needed. According to the paper now published in 2019, The Lancet, 1.27 million deaths could have been prevented had the infections been susceptible to drugs. And one of the many challenges that researchers are up against is finding antibiotics that are able to target metabolically dormant bacteria. So it looks like AI may be coming to the rescue in that version of healthcare. All right, Gugen Bengu says, okay, thanks a lot. I'll produce one and send it to you. Yes, ev@gruber.com. That's our email address.
Pete,
Yeah.
controversial opinion here.
All right, go for it.
We're all 100 million year old bacteria.
Yeah, okay. All right.
When it comes down to it,
Yeah.
if you really believe in evolution and the rate of change and development, go back far enough, we're all just bacteria.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of gross.
Well, it was like he was saying earlier, probiotics, for example. You have gut bacteria, which are vital to your continued health. They're actually we have a symbiotic relationship with them, unlike parasites, which are wired to drain our resources. So yeah, we are a mass of tissue and organisms as well, and you can upset that balance. And that's one of the problems with antibiotics. It kills not only the harmful bacteria, but it kills the good beneficial bacteria. So taking additional probiotics when you're taking antibiotics is probably a good idea.
So I wonder if Taco Bell has antibiotics inside their tacos. Probably why you don't feel so good after eating it.
I think one of the issues
Could be.
about the farming methods these days is the proliferation of using antibiotics with livestock to get better yields, because some of those antibiotics then get passed on through human consumption or to human consumption. All right. Anybody heard of Kathy Wood out there? Well, Kathy Wood is ARK Invests, one of the CEO there, I believe, and she is investing in OpenAI. So that's a good thing, I suppose. She's been very successful investing in other trending type companies. And her most recent prediction is, don't be too concerned about Tesla's low current stock price. It's off like 34% this year already. She says it is a $2,000 stock from its current level of about 160 or so. And that, she says, is about a 5-year projection. So if Kathy's success in her investing, in her personal investing, is any indication of something that is viable, then she predicts Tesla at $2,000 a share.
So we, not investment advice, but might need to buy right now low.
Yeah, well, it's the cliche in the stock market. The trick is to buy low and sell high. Yeah, doing that, of course, is a bit more challenging. We're actually pulling that off. All right, Apple stock. While we're on the topic of stocks, by the way, and shares, Apple stock is surging, and its strategic shift, they claim, toward AI has boosted its stock, adding $112 billion in market value and representing a significant growth opportunity with the new AI-enabled Macs and iPhones that are on the horizon. So eventually you're going to have some AI available in your iPhone. We've got some other topics later on that we're going to talk about is how that may be useful.
It's crazy that they're surging, because I think a report just came out that they're no longer the #1 selling iPhone. I think Samsung overtook them the last quarter or two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it seems like, and also that they had some issues with their Apple Watch. It was some kind of a patent issue or something, so they had to kind of put that on freeze.
Oh, yeah, there was a big settlement just recently, was there not?
Yeah, so I mean, it's not so good news, but then their stock starts surging. It's kind of, kind of weird.
It is. All right. Jesse, I thought you had information on the Apple suit that was just currently in the news. They were sued for yeah, all right.
I mean, they've had multiple lawsuits, but there's one like a month ago. It's not going to be for years till we figure out what happens with it. But
so it was just filed at this point. There was no settlement yet.
There's no settlement. No,
Okay.
they're getting kind of like antitrust stuff from the government because they're locking down their app store and making it really hard for competitors to exist on their app store. So
gotcha.
They're making it intentionally difficult for their devices to work with other non-Apple devices, and there's a bunch of stuff. But I would imagine they'll settle it. It just got filed though with the.
It did, okay.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not the first time Apple has done that. So we're all familiar with the term hidden agenda. There's actually an AI app now that helps you decrypt or decode that. And it's called EmpAi, EmpAi. Stands for Empathetic AI Assistant. And the headline says, believe it or not, people don't say what they mean most of the time. That's when EmpAi, Emphatic AI Assistant, comes to the rescue. It dives into the depths of human interaction to decode what's hidden beneath the surface. All right, so then they go into the article here. Get some Riz smooth like AI. As an emphatic assistant, they say, EmpAi upgrades your communication like no other. Tired of sending dry, mundane texts that lack the sparks of passion? This app translates your raw words into a language of love. Elevate your texting. Surprise your loved one with sweet nothings. And watch your connection blossom. Say goodbye to the bland conversations and hello to a world of heartfelt expressions. Try it now and let your messages dance with the rhythm of love. So you've got an AI augmentation now, an assistant that is going to teach you how to be more effective with that, with your crush or the girl that you're trying to attract, or vice versa. You know.
Well, I finally had this when I was in my 20s.
Yeah, I
I
know.
would have crushed it.
Yeah, I think AI came too late for some of us.
Pete, really quick, what's your opinion on the state of that? I know you, as well, have been married and out of the I'm not on camera, out of the dating game for a while. But now, what do you think about things like Match.com or using an AI tool to find partners? Do you think that's going to become the norm or the main way people do it, or do you think people are still going to prefer meeting in the real world?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah, and a lot to unpack there. It's kind of like we were talking earlier about eating. It's not just the mechanical process of ingesting organic materials through our mouth into our, digestive tract. There's a social component there. There's a flavor and taste and pleasure component there.
Yep.
So I think it's going to be a generational shift. As we go through multiple generations, eventually we'll start to drop some of this. But the question that you had earlier, we wish we had these kinds of AI tools. About 35 years ago or so, I went through a divorce. And I had just started the business and had some money that was starting to come into the business. I was single. And, the dating scene was a tough one, even back then. You had to go to a dance club, and then you had to buy your crush or whoever you were interested in a whole bunch of drinks, all right? Not necessarily to get her drunk, but, to, although that sometimes worked too, right? But it was expensive, it was inconsistent, it was unpredictable. I ended up buying a Ferrari. And that solved the problem.
Yeah.
No,
So that was your second love then, was the Ferrari.
it was, and the ability to attract the opposite sex never became easier. Now, granted, you couldn't take the Ferrari in your backpack into the dance club, but there were, there was definitely a
You could
shift.
have the Ferrari key fob hanging out of your pocket, though.
So my popularity soared. Now, how would AI assist with something like that? I don't know. I'd love to hear from our audience. What would your suggestions be? How do we, how can we maximize our use of AI and improve the dating phase of our life?
I think it's great. I mean, I met my fiance on a dating app. My sister met her fiance on a dating app.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
know.
yeah, it was. I mean, we just got out of COVID, so some certain people didn't want to really meet,
Yeah.
face to face. So you met, online and chatted over there, and then you would meet somewhere where you could have some distancing and
Yeah.
and also too. I mean, I was working at that time. I was working about 50, 55 hours a week. Out in the sun, doing construction and, flipping houses and working on pools. And it was like, sometimes I'm just tired. I didn't want to go out. I'd rather have a conversation online and then, see where it goes from there. I felt like it was easier to pursue a relationship at my own pace during my own, downtime than it was trying to get, working all day. Then I had to go get ready to go out, go to a bar if they're even open at that time.
Spend money.
Spend money.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so yeah.
And time.
Yeah, see, you guys had the advantage of going through the internet phase where you had the ability to qualify potential dates, which is, in my estimation, remarkably successful. I mean, back in the day, you go in a dance club, yeah, they're dressed nice, but until they open their mouth, you really don't know what you're getting,
Well, I mean, that's kind of the same online though, because you have catfishing. So you have what's called, that is the term catfishing, but it's like somebody putting up fake pictures or drastically altered pictures and completely lying about everything in their bio.
Yeah.
There's nothing that says they have to be truthful on the internet. So
Gotcha. Okay, no screening processes, in
yeah.
other words.
So
and
you're going in real
blind.
when you're going to actually meet the person in real life.
Yeah, Sarah thought I was 6'5" and looked exactly like The Rock, which she was a little disappointed, but I made up for it later.
Well, when you mentioned you were doing construction and outside work, I kind of pictured you tan and buff during that moment in your life.
Yeah, no.
No. Okay.
Yeah,
All
just the
right.
tan part. Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, moving right along here. Oh, Obertowski says, hello, Mr. Gruber. Well, thank you. Yeah, thanks for joining us. So here's another one of these headlights from this EmpAi, which is an AI application that is going to interpret communication for you, especially hidden agenda. So one other headline here is, don't let your anger run wild. This had to be Chinese because it's plural. Don't let your anger runs wild. All right. Words hurt, they say. We get it. Sometimes emotions can run high, but words may sting a little too much. But fear not. EmpAi is here to transform those heated moments into a sea of warmth and affection. Say goodbye to toxic communication and hello to a new era of understanding and love. Strengthen your connection, rebuild trust, and watch the power of positivity transform your relationship. Try it today and pave the way for a more loving and harmonious connection. So AI is going to do all that for you. Yeah.
Interesting.
Getting a thumbs up over there. All right. Bernard Homan, hi from Toluca, Mexico. Yes, welcome and thanks for joining us. So we talked earlier about using 11 labs for voice cloning combined with Mandelbrot fractals for looping video B-roll. If you're interested in the result of that, go out to our YouTube channel. It'll be the latest video we posted. It hasn't lit the world on fire. You won't see me speaking like this, but you'll hear my voice, which is actually AI generated, and these cool visuals that are designed to put your eyes to rest, hopefully focusing in on the narrative or on the text. The topic being, will the electrical grid in the United States be able to keep up with this mass proliferation of electric vehicles and more demands on the power grid? All right. Here's another AI application that is really cool, I thought. It's called Taste Bud, just like it sounds. And what it's able to do is, it's a recipe bot. I'm a bot, they say, but you can speak naturally to me like you would to a person. So here's the scenario. You've got a few things left in your fridge, right? And you're hungry. And you want to turn that stuff into a meal, but you're not sure whether they can be combined into a recipe. So what Taste Bud will do is, if you're trying to use up your fridge or pantry items, you can say to it, and it's voice recognition, hey, I have strawberries and feta cheese. What can I make? And it will actually create a recipe for you with the ingredients that you suggest. And if you don't like what it came up with, you can request another or another. Now, if you like the recipe that it created because your taste buds say, wow, this is off the chart good, we want this again in the future, you can save buds, as they call it, by using your browser's cache to save the recipe. Now, you don't want to clear your cache ever at this point because all your recipes will evaporate.
They'll be gone, yeah.
Yeah. But for those of you that are challenged, culinarily challenged, is there such a word? Have culinary challenges, I guess would be the right word.
Yep, culinarily challenged.
Yeah. You've got an AI program right now that is going to dial in the precise quantities, the precise, spices to go with it, and it will actually help you create meals. Now, again, getting back to the biofeedback thing, eventually we're going to be connected to AI, either through implants or, osmosis, Wi-Fi, who knows, whatever it's going to use. And it's going to be able to dial in what your culinary preferences are. What kind of foods do you like the most? and then use the leftovers in your fridge to create that.
It's going to make a pizza for everything online. Yeah.
And when you go to the restaurant now, they're going to scan you and say, okay, we've got a type AB372 here, and they're going to make a meal that's going to just knock your socks off.
Yeah, that's going to be good.
It is.
Pete,
yeah?
if you have only strawberries and feta cheese left, it better say you can make a trip to the store.
Yeah, because that's a tough one if you think about it. You have something sweet, fruit, and salty. But who knows? Try it. Taste Bud is what it's called, and there's an AI augmentation that can help you turn your leftovers into an exquisite meal. All right, here's another AI app called Campedia, Campedia. And what that allows you to do is you download it on your cell phone, and then you take a picture of something, and then you say, and you're able to talk to it, what do you see? And it will interpret for you what that is. Some of the other applications are, you point it at a book, and you say, summarize this book. You don't even have to open the book. It doesn't even have to read the book. It already has assimilated the book, is what the assumption here is.
Yeah.
And it's going to give you a summarization of what that book is all about. Here's another one. You take an item and you say, what can I do with this ball? It's going to give you a range of options, probably identify what that ball was made for, what type of sport or whatever, all of that.
So it's like an AI Google Lens then.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
You pointed at a plant, they say, and they have an orchid here. What plant is this? So anyway, it's Campedia. It's Campedia. I'm going to go back up to the top. I think there's a P in there. Yeah. For those of you interested that want to play with it, yep, it's Campedia. Campedia.
And so that's an app you can go get right now?
You can get right now, yes.
Oh, yeah, we're going to have to try that out. Do some videos on that.
All right, TikTok's in the news here with AI. TikTok explores to create AI-powered virtual influencers, and I think we have an image of that. It's called TikTok Influencers. Now, let's take a look at that. So what they're saying is that TikTok is exploring the potential of AI technology to create virtual influencers to engage with its user base. None of these people are real, right? Yeah. Doesn't look like it, except for the guy on the screen. He looks like he might be real.
Is this from the article, or is this one of ours?
It's from the article. Yeah,
Okay.
no, I did not generate this. They say that these AI-powered avatars are designed to promote and sell products within the app, potentially altering the landscape of digital marketing and influencer economics on the platform. So this is just for TikTok right now. In case any of our call center staff are watching, this is not designed to replace any of the salespeople in our call center. This is a TikTok-only application. The details, they say, virtual influencers on TikTok, AI avatars will be programmed to deliver advertiser-crafted scripts to promote products. Human versus AI creators, all right? While TikTok sees these AI influencers as complementary to human creators, concerns about revenue sharing and the impact on human creators' sponsorship deals are emerging. So we've got some concerns. Of course, there is no concern about salary demands or vacation demands or sick time demands or anything like that, because these avatars are basically machines able to work 24/7 at your beck and call whenever you need them. All right.
Now, I wonder if people will use this in a more nefarious way, where there's already an existing influencer, a real person.
Mm-hmm.
You would theoretically be able to use this to generate their exact persona and just make, social media influencer account 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would just siphon off all of their viewership and followers they've already built up.
Oh, I'm sure the bad actors will
duplicate their voice.
Yeah, they will get creative and find ways to capitalize on this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, here's another app called Clean Voice. And it is an automatic audio enhancement. You guys are going to like this. If you're like us, they say in this article, you hate it when your podcasts have unwanted background noise.
Yep.
We were actually considering buying a treadmill, painting it green, like our backdrop here, to make it disappear, and then having people that we are making videos with walking on the treadmill and then simulating different types of environments
Let me
through
see
the
if
green
I can.
screen.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. And of course, what that would then do is it would make it look like whoever is doing the walking on the treadmill is actually walking in a field in an alpine meadow or whatever we want to. Or we're doing car videos and they're walking amongst people in the at the car show. All right. And of course, you have a lot of unwanted background noise. Well, what this clean voice, sorry, is able to do is remove all of that pesky cafe noise at the coffee shop or wherever, traffic sounds, white noise, or any other kind of background noises. You know, from an electronic standpoint, I can visualize how they're doing this. They're actually creating notch filters for certain frequencies, which is, of course, very time-consuming because you have to identify the frequency that you want to attenuate or take out. AI is able to process all of the frequencies at once at the same time and identify a match between the ones you want and don't want. So, yeah, I can see how this could work very easily. With Clean Voice, they say you can have the cleanest sounding podcasts around.
So I'm a little confused. Does it do it live, or do you have to like so like right now we have some people making pallets, so we're hearing a nail gun, and sometimes that comes through on the mic. So could we have that AI doing that live right now and clean it up, or is that something we have to wait to download it, run it through that generator, and then upload it for a clean sound?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question, whether it is an instant response. But again, being electrons travel at the speed of light, I can't imagine that compared to our world, this could not be an instant improvement or a notching or a taking out of unwanted noise.
Yeah, because it's interesting because when baseball was going on during the pandemic, there was no fans. So it was kind of neat because you could literally hear the ball hit the glove, the crack of the bat a lot louder. Now with the crowds back in, you have to have ESPN hides a mic like close to home plate so you can hear it to enhance it.
Yeah.
But if you can have like an AI generator that can actually like maybe dim down the crowd and enhance the players, I think that would be kind of cool. You can hear everybody talking on the field and giving directions and stuff.
Or even have a compression capability where the noise level gradually rises until someone speaks and then it diminishes so that you can hear, the narrative.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff. All
I think it was the same way for MMA too. During COVID.
Yeah, it was interesting. You could hear the coaches yelling out, like keep your hands up, hands. They'd yell certain things out. Like, I mean, I was hearing the third base coach, screaming, go, 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 or or something.
Yeah.
And then you could hear a lot of the Spanish because now baseball nowadays there's a lot of Dominicans, Cuban influences, Venezuelan. So you hear multiple languages being spoken out on the field. It's kind of interesting. It just gives it a different feel and look to the game.
And you could hear all the cussing too.
Yeah, it's true. There was a couple of interesting moments, but if it's on a delay because it has to go through that generator, then you could have AI block out those cuss words too. So the audience, so it's still TV, appropriate.
So here's an interesting article. This is AI-driven cars. No human drivers. It's called The Sport with No Humans. And it's in the world of Formula One racing. They don't call it e-racing. In fact, I didn't find a name for it, but they say the sport with no humans, it's all AI. The machine makes all the decisions based on the best AI code. And that's the one that wins. It's going to be happening here in Abu Dhabi on the 27th of April at Yas Marina Circuit. And what they have is cars that look like Formula One cars, but you're not going to see anyone helmeted in the middle of that car. And these cars now are going to go around a track, and the most successful car, the one that wins, it's going to be determined by, and let me read this to you, instead of charismatic race car drivers with lavish and flamboyant lifestyles, the nerds are taking over this sport, and the best coder wins the race. The cars are driverless. They sense track conditions and perfectly adjust speed to road conditions, well beyond human capabilities or instincts, pushing the cars, tires, and track to ultimate performance. You know, any great race car driver has an instinctive sense for how hard they can push into that curve, how far they need to swing, you know, in order to make sure they don't spin out. AI does it better, is what they're saying.
Yeah, I can see that because like sometimes with, your human instincts kicked in, you might not want to lean in as hard, or you might want to lean in too hard or something. I think it'd be neat to have like an AI where you can speak to it from the pit and say like, hey, speed up, speed up, speed up, speed up. No, or something. You can almost relay commands to that, and it responds to you instantly as you're given the commands.
Well, in this case, what they say is that the AI actually senses the road conditions. It senses the amount of slippage on the tires. As you're going into that curve, you're going to have some tire slippage, and it senses how much. It knows the parameters or the construction of that tire, how much stickiness it has, and how far it can be pushed before it goes into a spin condition. And it's going to push it right to the absolute thresholds in all categories.
So the vehicle is almost the driver. They're almost all in one. It's AI all.
Yeah.
Wow, that's kind of neat.
And then they say that there are coders behind the scenes that are feeding in different algorithms to even maximize that further. But the car in and of itself is already more sophisticated than the human that might have been powering that F1 car.
Wow, that sounds pretty neat.
It does. But, you know, it brings other questions to mind. Do we as humans expect to see a human driver? Is that part of the competitive appeal? Or do we have a favorite driver? Fittipaldi, for example, we want to see him win, that type of thing. And all of that is going to be missing. It is going to be strictly the most efficient machine or the most efficient coder. At the end of the run, does that mean that the nerdy coders get to go up on the podium with the trophies?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking of, we have that intern over at Gruber Motors, and he does the BattleBot scene.
Nick, yes.
I mean, you kind of look at, when I think of the BattleBots, I think of, his is named Manta. So you think, oh, yeah, that's Manta and his owner, So it's almost like a co-relationship. I think if you can figure that out, maybe you can have something similar to that in that racing.
Yeah. Good point. And, of course, it'll be a generational thing. The things that turn us on in future generations are going to be completely different than the things that we get excited about now. What's popular now, and this speaks to our de-evolution in my mind. I'm going to go on a rant here, all right? People slapping the hell out of each other.
Oh, the slap box on Rumble?
Yeah. I'm appalled that we have degraded to finding this sort of thing entertaining. And okay, they're one of two options. The person gets hit, and of course, they try to make it very dramatic, right? They start the swing, and they plan the trajectory, like a golfer would, right? So it kind of pulls you in, right? And then eventually, he slaps the hell out of the other individual on the other side, and there's only one of two options. He either shakes his head, and he's ready to slap him back, or he falls to the floor unconscious, right?
Yeah, they get dazed pretty good in that.
Where's the intrigue? And anyway, that's the end of my rant. But I'm just hoping that as we continue to evolve, and I'm hoping that is a process that is actually in place rather than devolve.
Well, I mean, that can be said about any fighting, though. I mean, that's just a simple version, just slapping each other, obviously, right? But if you think about MMA, the UFC, or any of those, Bellator, or even football, I mean, all we're doing is watching people trying to hurt each other in one, or trying to
Plow through each other.
to just run into each other. If you really think about what we're doing, it's very archaic and kind of old school.
It doesn't build intellectual processes, I guess is the right way to say it.
It's like watching CE or CTE develop like instantly. Like it's what you're being knocked out. So obviously, you know, I mean, there's something going on with the nervous system and the brain at the same time. I mean, how is this good?
I mean, it is good though. Somehow it is still entertaining, but
Entertainment, yeah.
Meanwhile,
that's
the views are pretty good on Rumble. We should maybe think about a Gruber Slapbox arena or something.
we're gonna sponsor a Slapbox event.
Instead of getting a competitor on our podcast, we should have one of these slap things. You know,
Yeah,
that would probably be a huge draw, would it not?
it would probably be huge. Yeah.
So anyway, getting back to this, it looks like it's getting into car racing, and it's going to change the landscape, it sounds like. Obertowski says, where is the bridge between just advanced algorithms and AI? What suddenly happened in 2023 that we suddenly went from no AI to AI? You know, he asks a good question.
It did seem like it just snuck up on
Overnight.
us, but it sounds like AI's been kind of in the process since, and correct me if I'm wrong, but probably the late 90s. It felt like it started to get some traction.
Yeah, I mean, it's just come to public attention recently, but
Might we say that it was unintentionally released? That it might have been the domain of governments at one point in time that planned to utilize this for warfare, which is kind of in our nature, right?
It feels like our technology has just finally caught up to where it was able to maybe help us come along, and now AI is going to push us through another technology, revolution.
Right.
yeah, I don't know. I think it definitely was the government, though. I mean, all computers were developed, and because you need a lot of funding to create a technology like the internet or artificial intelligence or just a computer in general, all that was funded through various military applications.
Yeah, and that's where your best and brightest minds often went because of the paychecks that were involved. So, good question, Obertowski. Yeah, we don't know, but you're right. We observed the same thing. Suddenly in 2023, we've got a whole new world ahead of us here.
Yeah, well, 2023 is just when 3.5, 3.5 of ChatGPT came out.
Mm-hmm.
But the real powerful AI that came out first was Google search.
You think? Yeah.
That was an
early
AI
2000s?
tool, yeah, that came out, and that's an algorithm that is doing the search, and it's combing through the whole of the internet to give you the most relevant search terms, and then also simultaneously building ads and doing all this other stuff. That's all artificial intelligence, and Google DeepMind has existed, and their AI research has existed well before OpenAI was even a thought.
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT, yeah.
So they talk about amazing cities of the future, and I've got a picture here too that you can throw up, Jesse. It's called City of the Future, actually. And I didn't have an image with this article, so I created it. And what I asked AI for was a prompt that basically said, show us a friendly AI overlord in a utopian city setting. And this is what it came up with. Now, of course, this isn't the Terminator type AI overlord that you see here. It actually looks like an androgynous being that is even showing a plant growing in its hand. And what this article is about, though, is how cities are going to change as we continue to evolve and incorporate AI. They say that cities of the future are likely to be more sustainable, resilient, and livable, thanks to a number of emerging technologies. Sustainability, for example. Cities of the future will use renewable energy resources, reducing their environmental impact. And the examples are smart grids will distribute electricity more efficiently and integrate renewable energy resources, such as solar and wind power. Smart buildings will use technology to improve energy efficiency and comfort levels for the occupants. And you're starting to see some of that enter the homes. We've got the Nest thermostats, for example, fully programmable, Wi-Fi accessible. I could even change temperature, although I don't know how, from my phone at my house,
Well,
which is 15 miles away.
The apartment that I'm about to move into is all smart home, and it has door locks, lights, thermostat, washer, dryer, fridge. All of it is connected to an app.
Integrated, yeah.
Yeah.
And the cool part will be is you can program it so that in the middle of summer, you keep the temperature a bit higher than you're comfortable with during the day to save energy, but half hour before you get home, it starts to crank it down to where you need it to be.
Yeah.
Or would like it to be. All right, so sustainability. Electric vehicles, they also mentioned those will reduce air pollution and improve public health. And for those of you that aren't sure whether EVs will really reduce air pollution, I lived in Phoenix during COVID. And during COVID, there's very little driving taking place. And suddenly, after about 3 days of that, you could see South Mountain. You could see stars that you normally didn't see.
It was drastic, the difference.
Oh, completely different, yeah. And I would suspect that things like respiratory ailments also were reduced, although, well, no one that I know of did any studies regarding that. But, you know, with that amount of pollution out of the air, I'm sure that health improved as well.
My mom has asthma, and she noticed a huge difference during 2020.
Did she?
Yeah, so she was walking outside to get some exercises, and she felt better with her asthma. I mean, she's got asthma pretty bad, so I mean, a good day is still, somewhat,
Well, she has a sensitivity that she was able to,
but like today, like is a high pollution day, so she'll more than likely stay kind of indoors and not be out so much,
Right.
because the high pollution, you can hear she starts wheezing and needs a breathing treatment at least once.
Right,
Yeah.
right. All right, the second one is resilience. We're talking about cities of the future. Cities of the future will be more resilient to shocks and stresses such as natural disasters and climate change. And they give examples. Green infrastructure will help to manage stormwater runoff and reduce the risk of flooding. Seawalls and other coastal defenses will protect cities from rising sea levels. Why is that important? Well, global warming is melting ice caps. The sea levels are rising and continue to rise. So the cities are going to have to prepare for that and accommodate that. They say that smart city technologies will be used to monitor and respond to emergencies more effectively. And then finally, they talk about livability. Cities of the future will be more livable, with more green spaces, pedestrian-friendly streets, and access to affordable housing. For example, vertical farms will grow food in urban areas. Smart transportation systems will reduce traffic congestion and make transportation more efficient. Smart city technologies will be used to improve public services and make cities more accessible for everyone. Then they talk about some of the things that will be common in these cities of the future. Some technical examples: self-driving cars and buses. Self-driving cars could reduce traffic congestion and make transportation more efficient and accessible. And of course, a whole lot safer. We talk about that often. Hyperloop. Hyperloop is a new transportation technology that could transport people and goods at very high speeds. Hyperloop could revolutionize the way we travel between cities. Vertical farms. These are indoor farms that can be used to grow food in urban areas. They will reduce our reliance on imported food and make our cities more food secure. Self-sustained, in other words. Smart grids. Smart grids are electricity grids that use technology to improve efficiency and reduce costs. They could help reduce our reliance on fossil fuels and make our cities more sustainable as a result. Smart buildings. Using technology to improve energy efficiency and comfort levels for occupants. Smart buildings could also reduce our energy consumption and make our cities more sustainable. And then AI. How will AI be used in smart or in these cities of the future? Well, it could be used to improve a wide range of city services. And here's one that I like, such as traffic management, public safety, and waste management. For an example, they list AI-powered traffic lights that could adjust their timing based on real-time traffic conditions. How often have you sat at a light Sunday morning? There's no traffic. Why do you have to sit there for 3 minutes waiting for that light to turn when there's no oncoming traffic? AI could solve that. AI-powered security cameras, they talk about those, could detect and deter crime. AI-powered waste management system could optimize collection routes and reduce waste. And then they talk about the Internet of Things, IoT, could be used to collect data about the city environment and improve decision-making. For example, IoT sensors could be used to monitor air quality and traffic conditions. IoT-enabled streetlights could adjust their brightness based on the presence of pedestrians and/or vehicles. All right, so the cities of the future.
On its way.
Yep. Have an update for you about Woabot, Woebot, which was something that I got really excited about. There are some researchers that are working on making therapy available on cell phones. And, the basic premise here is that our planet and mankind badly needs therapy. And the majority of people just can't afford it, or the stigma does not allow them to admit that they would benefit from therapy. And so anyway, what these folks did, and it's a company in Ireland that has developed a chat bot or a cell phone assisted therapist that allows you to tap into that in those, what they say, tricky moments, because it always has your best interest at heart. And maybe you have anxiety in the middle of the night, for example. Your therapist's not going to be available for that. And they're going to be annoyed if you try to contact them at 2 a.m. in the morning to walk you through that anxiety session. This is where your cell phone comes in, and it's going to be available 24/7. Providing therapy when you most need it. The basic premise here is, and let me take you back here, the idea of psychoanalysis was developed around the 1890s, and it first began to receive serious attention under Sigmund Freud, who formulated his own theory of psychoanalysis in Vienna in the 1890s. Freud was a neurologist trying to find an effective treatment for patients with neurotic or hysterical symptoms. So he's been credited with launching modern psychotherapy. And there were many others, of course, that were the godfathers of this type of approach to offering mental health type therapies for patients. There was a 60 Minutes presentation 2 weeks ago. Those of you interested, you can probably Google it and see the whole session. And it gives you some information about this Woabot concept. What they say is this field has not had any major breakthroughs since the basic architecture was laid down by Freud in the 1890s. Secondly, there is a serious shortage of mental health professionals, and it is rapidly growing. The need for therapy, especially in our rapidly changing society, which is constantly creating new levels of stress, is more needed now than ever. And the majority of people cannot afford a high-priced therapist, psychologist, or psychiatrist. So why not AI, which can take the schedule of mental health support from once a week or once a month to effectively 24/7 when you need it the most? My attempts to get more information from this Woabot company in Ireland so far has been unfruitful. I'm also trying to get the CEO, Alison Darcy, on one of our AI podcasts. I think it would be fun. We talk AI. She certainly has a lot of experience with it. And it turns out that she was a coder at one point in time and then migrated into being a therapist. They have a good program. They have a good application. And it is currently being used with 1.5 million people, but it's restricted. And that's one of the reasons I'm unable to get a version of the application or a demo version of it. At this point in time, for those 1.5 million, this app is available for free to individual smartphone users. And they say, although that model could change in the future. So anyway, 1.5 million, they have 70 million minutes of non-human support provided via Woabot. And 77% of the conversations take place outside the traditional working hours. So that tells you why this 24/7 capability is so important. All right. If we get anywhere with this, we'll certainly let you know. We're even theorizing that potentially we could create our own version of Woabot and make therapy available 24/7 to the general population or to mankind. All right, Mustafa Aber 313 says, this is Morocco. Well, thank you for joining us. That's a long ways away as well. All right, the final article that I have for you here is Lonely Hearts and Big Bucks. Tech execs see billion-dollar future for AI girlfriends. Tech executive Greg Eisenberg predicts a lucrative future for AI-generated virtual girlfriends, recounting an encounter with a man who spends $10,000 a month on such companions. This man extolled the customization options and comfort that they provide, referring sites like Candy.ai and Cupid.ai. There's a warning here. Both links contain potentially NSFW material. What does that acronym stand for? I didn't look it up. NSFW.
Not safe for
Not
work.
safe for work, yeah.
Not safe for work. Okay, there we go. So, but Eisenberg goes on to envision a billion-dollar AI dating app similar to Match Group, capitalizing on this trend. And there are other websites like Romance.ai, Replica with a K, offer similar virtual companionship, with some allowing erotic role play. Surveys indicate growing interest, with 1 in 5 Americans flirting with AI bots. You know, that's a pretty sobering statistic when you think about it.
That's a lot.
It is. Such interactions range from platonic to, well, you get the idea, they say. So that is, I think, the last item in this AI podcast. And again, we appreciate all of you joining us. This is a fun segment. It tends to be technical and non-technical. And we do these every Wednesday at 10 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.